Perhaps the people you know best and respect the most are the people that it's hardest to introduce, and this is my situation this evening, introducing President Emmons, who needs no introduction. I think some of you were at the meeting this afternoon, the 2 o'clock session entitled The Pastor's Prologue, and at one point in the program, Dr. Light indicated that he thought the Alumni Association and the college president had a good deal of intestinal fortitude in conducting a survey like this. And I'm reminded a few nights ago in our office, President Emmons was waiting on another banquet like this to begin, and he was looking for the first time at the questionnaire. He'd seen it in rough form, but you know, when you read a printed document, things seem to jump out at you that you don't notice. They spent about 10 minutes leaping back and forth, and pretty soon all he said, he says, "You gotta be brave." Now, he didn't say whether the alumni director had to be brave or the college president had to be brave. But I want to introduce to you a statesman, a brave college president, President Emmons.
Thank you, Bob. Folks here at the head table and all of you who are in this room. Of course, this is a wonderful evening. It's always a wonderful evening when we get together like this. You have given me the challenge or the opportunity or the responsibility, whatever you wish to call it, of saying something about a review and a preview. Well, actually, at this stage of the game, about as far ahead as I can look is tomorrow and hope about the weather. Well, I think I do get a few qualms looking ahead at the next State Teachers College Board meeting because there are so many important things that are going to be considered and discussed then, but I've tried to pull together some ideas and some things that we might talk about this evening. Ball State, as colleges are measured, is a young institution. A very young institution, actually. So I suppose a review could be a very brief statement, but it won't be. And then if I talked about the other, you look at its future, and that reaches out to infinity. So just relax wherever you are. I'm not under any pressure this evening to make this a short talk, as we are so many times when there's a football game on the offing or something like that. We can stay until it's time to dance, and if we want to shorten up the dance period a little, we can even go into that. Well, a review and a preview, as Bob said when he gave me the topic, means you can talk about anything you'd like to in either direction, and everyone knows, of course, that any organization or institution or even a person includes a past, a present, and a future. Now, a past, of course, as you know, must be based on a foundation. There must be a foundation. And the present also is based on the same foundation, and the future is dependent upon it. We've talked here several times around the offices and on the campus about a statement that came out something like this, that without the foundation that was established, it would be impossible to have the superstructure that we now have. And then I think now we should add, and that the potential or the possibility of adding a new dimension to what we now call a superstructure is so imminent that we perhaps should again go back and look just a little longer at the foundation. And what is the foundation for this superstructure and the new potential dimension? Well, it's made up, of course, first of beneficence in the hands of the Ball Foundation and the Ball brothers, the people of this community. And then, of course, it was made up, as you know, of a group of people, some of whom are still here. Some of them are here this evening. The faculty and the group that were gathered together to start this institution. And they have laid a foundation that makes it very, very difficult in many ways for present faculty members who are brought to reach the same kind of stature and measurement. And then you could go on. Of course, the next element had to be the students. And the students are now graduates. And unless there was a foundation that the graduates made when they left the institutional doors or marched down the steps or whatever it is that one does, without the foundation that they've laid and the reputation that they've made and created the image that we have of this college, all the things that had gone before would be useless. But this is not the way it's worked out. The graduates who have gone through the doors, and you heard about the 5,000th master's degree candidate coming up tomorrow. Well, this is a part of, I think, of a beginning statement. So I went on to write down something like this. Ball State is a young college, but it's had a good many great years. And you can underline that great as many times as you wish to. Some of you want to underline it 3 or 4 that you were here. Somebody else wants to underline the ones that were here before you were, and somebody else wants to mention some that happened since you were here. But this has been a great year. 63-64 has been a great year. Don said something about it, some of the things about it, and other seniors talk about it. One of the things that's wonderful, at least so far as I'm concerned, is that most all of them continuously preach, although we have grown large and larger and still larger, somehow or other this friendly spirit, this quality of human relationships between faculty, between and among faculty and students, and between and among faculty, staff, administration, and also, shall I say, in this community. This relationship seems to be continue to stay cemented, doesn't fall apart. And this is one of the great things that made this a great year. Well, it's a great year partially because we had more of so many things. We had more people. We had more students. We're going to have more graduates. We had more faculty members. Fortunately, we had enough money. Perhaps I should put that in early. We had more money this year. That made it possible to have more faculty members to do more things. We've had more buildings. We've had more equipment. We've had more new programs. I'll mention some of them. We've had greater grants than we ever had before. Federal government grants, and we've had wonderful gifts that culminated in certain kinds of things. And now we also have more challenges, more proposals about new things to get done, that seems to me, than we've had ever pile up in any given short period of time. Such things as a proposed change of name, and a proposed shift in structure, and a proposed College of Medicine, and a proposed College of Architecture, and I could go on. There are a whole series of other proposals that individuals have made to each other. Some of the evidence over here, you see. That kind of proposal takes place still on college campuses. I was going to say next we have more successful students, but I didn't necessarily mean it in that era. We've had an increased number of students who have been able to get grants and fellowships for continued graduate work, and a series of opportunities of this kind for faculty members also. These have brought us some very interesting challenges and responses. We've had more services. Expanded health service, a data processing center, our new public school councils that have been organized, more calls upon us to do things that people say they need to have done. Well, I guess I can sum it up by saying we've had more of everything. More opportunities, more challenges, more responsibilities, more needs. And I could add again, more things to do some of these things with. There was a news release that Marie Fraser prepared that recently. It says, when the Ball State Teachers College Board meets at Ball State Teachers College in June, there are 3 major orders of business are on the agenda. What I did is I wrote down a statement like this, and I attached the back of it. And I have lots of sheets with lots of things attached to the backs of them today. The 46-year-old college is seeking a name change to Ball State University and is interested in adding 2 more professional schools. Ball State's a serious contender of the proposed new State School of Architecture and the Indiana's second state-supported College of Medicine. The Chicago management and educational consultant firm of Booth, Allen, and Hamilton will visit Ball State this week. They've already visited us. And I should like very much to go through some of the kinds of things that came out in the discussion when the people in the community and the people at the college in 2 separate sessions presented to this team things about your institution, our institution, the institution from which you graduated or in which you have taught. It's a long list of things. And when Dr. Wiltsey, who left us, made his comment about us, he said he didn't think anyone, even some of the people that were in the group, had really realized how many were the features that we could add up and list that made this potentially an interesting community for any kind of college to grow and develop. Well, the college has a 9-member committee on university status, and we completed most of our deliberations yesterday at about 1:35, so that we are now ready, we think, to go to the State Teachers College Board with a series of recommendations about the structure and the name and this part of the program. Some of these things will all be presented to the State Teachers College Board on 17th of June. Marie was kind enough to put in, she writes beautifully in language that for me that I can understand and accept. She said, I said, it's easy to change the name of an institution, but it's harder to build a program that has university status. This is what I did say at the faculty senate. I spelled it out more carefully than that to the concern of some of the faculty members. And that's what this committee is intent on doing. Ball State has enjoyed an international reputation as a first-class teachers' college. We do not wish to sacrifice this reputation, one that we've earned. When we become a university, this is part of my quote. I'm quoting myself again. When we become a university, we want all of the colleges to maintain and uphold the same high standards and to establish the same reputation for excellence that Ball State Teachers College has earned. And we won't be satisfied with less. End of the quote. Now, our proposal as a group of the committee is for 4 colleges. We've had 3 major divisions. You know, we went through the reorganization after a long period of study on the part of a faculty committee, faculty and staff committee. This new committee has come up with a series of shifts again, and this is what we've tried to say. 4 colleges proposed. The Teachers College, the College of Sciences and Humanities, the College of Business, and the College of Fine and Applied Arts. Now, we've had the Division of Education, the Division of Fine and Applied Arts, the Division of Science and Humanities, but this is a new spin-off in terms of business. This was one of the things that the committee that studied before in the long-range program said that when we reached a student body of 10,000 students, we should have, then we said 7,500, we would have 3 divisions, 2 vice presidents. When we reached 10,000 students, we would try to have 4 vice presidents and a new division. That would be the business division. So now we're saying that the divisions will become colleges. And one of the colleges will always be Ball State Teachers College. The Teachers College of Ball State University is the name change. Well, we listed several strong assets which the college has, making it a good position to become a university and support the schools, if they should come our way, the colleges of architecture and medicine. First, a rapidly spiraling enrollment, which will reach over 10,200 students by fall. It may only reach 10,000. It would be better in a great many ways if we could stay just under 10,000, but we're close to that this fall. And one of our problems, frankly, is that, may I step over here for just a minute, leave this piece of paper. The morning paper had an editorial in it which said something about the request we'd made to the legislature, indicating that the list of buildings that we had indicated included what we needed and what we wanted and what we'd like to have. And I would want to say to you, we have listed nothing that we don't need. It's true we want it and we'd like to have it. But we're in this position, for instance. We wanted and we needed and we'd like to have sufficient number of residence halls on the campus to adequately take care of the people who want to come. But a month ago, we had to start saying, no, there is no room left for additional women on our campus in residence halls. We have had to close completely any acceptance of any person, woman, who wants to come and live in a residence hall next year. And that's in spite of the fact that we're opening a new residence hall that will house 450 women and 450 men. Well, this is a part of the picture. So the statements that we've made about what we need and what we want and what we like are what we need. We want them and we'd like to have them. Both of those things are also true. Well, we have strong programs in education, liberal arts, business administration, nursing, medical technology, dietetics, and all the pre-professional courses, pre-med, pre-law, pre-engineering, pre-dent, social work, the ministry, any field you wish to take. Ball State has been multi-purpose from the day it was organized in 1918. And the first annual stated in it, made a list of people who graduated on the teaching program and people who graduated on the non-teaching program. Frankly, we've tried to get away from the non-descriptive terminology and move it over to positive terminology by calling it pre-professional, general, liberal arts, and the like. Well, new undergraduate and graduate programs are being developed for non-teaching majors, you see. We get into it. Economics, journalism, international studies, music, political science, and several areas of science. The doctoral program, which leads to the PhD and the EDD degrees, in addition to our BAs and our BSs and our MAs and the EDSs, the Specialist in Education degrees. We do have a well-qualified faculty, with more than half of them holding the earned doctor's degrees from major universities and colleges throughout the United States and some from foreign countries. There's a growing program of research, and I'll specify that at greater length a little later, particularly in the field of science, supported by the National Science Foundation and by the National Institute of Health grants. We have a well-equipped library with over 250,000 volumes. This has been one of our great aims, to at least get 250,000 volumes in our library to make it possible to carry on an adequate program at the graduate level as well as the undergraduate. But in addition to the volumes that we have, our library is noted across the nation because it has thousands of professional periodicals, microfilms, slides, motion pictures, all housed and serviced through a single service process. Well, we have other new kinds of material, such as the Sir Norman Angell Library, which comes to Ball State. Number 8 is listed here is the cultural programs bringing the best talent in opera, ballet, concerts, and theater in our new auditorium. The campus radio and television facilities for closed-circuit television instruction should be ready this fall. Audiovisual and other electronic instructional equipment, as I said, the data processing equipment and so forth. The 10-year plan for campus development. You see, we've already had a 15-year campus plan that really culminated. I sometimes, just for fun, and some of you have heard me say it before, I get out the campus plan that was presented to the State Teachers College Board in 1946-47 in the biennial report to the board. And in it, you found the picture of this student center as it now stands in 1946-47. And you know, we didn't get into it then. And on it, in the same campus plan, you found the physical education building, which we got into in the fall, and you find the auditorium, college and community auditorium, in the 1946-1947 campus plan. Well, we have achieved those plans now in 1900, somewhat later than a 15-year plan, but 64, and we have extended past some of those plans. We now have a new 10-year building program set up. The campus plan is stretched that far. Well, I went on to point out some other things, but in addition to having the heaviest concentration of population in the area, in this state, this is where business has been locating. If you draw a line diagonally from Chicago to Switzerland County across this state, we're the only state institution of higher education on our side of the line. And 3/4 of the increased population in the state of Indiana is on our side of the line. This is one of our challenges. This is one of our heavy responsibilities. Some people call these headaches. I call them opportunities. New plants in Indiana are coming in. We feel we're ideally located for the second medical school or the School of Architecture. This is a statement we've made. This is where people live and work. This is why we feel we might be able to serve them. We have strong community support for both of these programs. Committees headed by the mayor, the prepared studies to report the requests, the Chamber of Commerce, the Delaware Blackford County Medical Society, the Board of Realtors, the service clubs, business, labor, and the press. All of these people have been working with us. Well, I could go on. We have a number of undergraduate and graduate programs now, plus the supporting staff and facilities in paramedicine to support a medical school program. And we're willing to add more. This is the way we tried to say that we're growing, we're adding new programs, we want to be considered. Well, this is a part of that kind of story that I attached to the first page. Now let me go back to my other set of documents. I said at the faculty meeting this fall, and some of you have heard me say this before when we started out, this is 19 years, and numbers are interesting to a person who taught mathematics. This is 19 years at Ball State. When I came the first fall, we had 1,009 students. This year we had 9,100. 19, 1,009, 9,100. You can play around with the ones and the nines all you wish to. Don't leave off the ciphers. 5,000 master's degree, approximately 25,000 graduates for a very young institution. And it's said in the, I'm talking review now, preview goes perhaps to 15,000. There are some very interesting variables in how far we go. Residence halls will be one of them. How fast can we get residence halls completed? I suppose you want to say how fast can you get parking lots completed too. This is another one of the same. These really are the two major variables now in how large can we get. Because so far as the community is concerned, it as a community has absorbed approximately the total number of students it can absorb in rooms. They might expand some, but they can't expand, say, 1% or 2% or 3% of the enrollment. This has to come from these other two factors. Well, in review, the faculty and staff, some of whom are here, could tell you about the expense that we've had. We have enough money, and we have already agreed to add 38 additional people this fall. We've already filled 51 vacancies. This is the people who retire, one who retired, people who are on leave of 23 people on leave of absence with partial salary next year. 51 have been added, and more than 50% of the new ones. I don't mean that. 38 have been added, 51 new ones have been selected, and over 50% of the 51 have their doctorate degrees completed, or will have them completed, a reasonable expectancy of completing them by September the 1st, suppose I say it that way. Well, I've talked about people a little. Now let me jump. You've heard me sometimes say that an institution of higher education made up of people and things and programs and services. Now I've gone to talk a little about the people. Let's talk about things. Don did most of my talk there. He talked about the new physical education building we moved into this fall. He said something about the health service building, about the college and community auditorium. I should also add the Bertha Crosley Ball, which was Mrs. Edmund Ball's home, and now is the Bertha Crosley Ball Art Center, presented to the college this year, so that we have an extended area in which we can serve people in this way. Now 65. Studebaker Hall is open. They're almost ready to go now. We're told that we can start moving furniture in by the 15th of July. And of course, the Studebaker Halls are the Whitcraft, Palmer, Painter, and Davidson. Some of you are familiar with those names. And then right next to it, the other part of the Studebaker Halls, the Menck and Hurlbut units. Those are well up out of the ground. It'll be another 8-story unit. I shouldn't say another, because the first one was 9, this one's 8, because we didn't need the food service at the ground level. So you have 8 stories instead of 9. And this is the Menck Hurlbut building. This I mentioned because some of you alums are interested in the names. Now, this is the 66th one. We already have, and some of you have seen in your bulletin, I brought a copy of it with me so you could see it, if you haven't seen it. And you also see a picture over here, an architect's sketch for it. This is to keep pace with Ball State's growth, the new 6-unit complex of residence hall on the drawing board. It's past the drawing board stage. We already have our approval for dollars from it from the federal government, so we're at that stage. Planned to house 1,949 students when it's completed, parts of it in 67, 68, 69. We won't build all of it at one time. We build part of it and go on to the next complex. I have a letter here that we have written to some of our former faculty members, the same as Studebaker, and I mentioned the others. We've written because this building now, we'll present the names to the State Teachers College Board for naming at their meeting on 17th of June. I will read you one letter, and this will give you one idea. This is from Robert LaFollette. He's with Haile Selassie University at Addis Ababa. He said, "Dear Jack, your letter of May the 28th, 1964, asking for my permission and approval to name the total unit of the new residence hall with 9 sections, 4 for men and 4 for women, and 1 for graduate students, the Robert LaFollette Residence Halls, has just been received. I gladly give my permission and approval, and I deeply appreciate the honor." The picture of the complex is quite impressive. I'll send the letter right along that you may meet your deadline with the board on June the 17th, and then I'll chat with you about the news here in another letter soon. Well, that gives you an inkling. The rest of the names will be from people who have retired and who have served Ball State as a part of that foundation for the superstructure that we've been talking about. Now, this is only one, you see. As soon as you get one under construction, you get another one on the drawing boards, and you have to keep going this way. We thought we were keeping even, and we aren't. You run just as hard as you can and just as fast as you can, and you find out events catch up with you. You can't keep ahead of them. Well, then another and another residence hall. These are the areas over which you have a major control. That is, you can control the construction with student fees and with student dollars of student centers, of health service buildings, of residence halls, and things like this. The area in which we seem to slide the greatest distance behind is in the area of classroom buildings. Now, the other 2 units that we plan to have ready in the next year or so, have started and off the drawing boards and under construction, are the first portion of a stadium and the swimming pool to add to our physical education complex. These will come out of student fees. Now, we're behind in classroom buildings. We're desperately behind, for instance, in science. The money was appropriated by the last legislature, but no money has been released for the construction of the science building yet. But the science building, we have decided, will be in 2 major units. to start with, and they'll be built in such ways they can be added to if someone wants to add to them 20 years from now, or 6 years from now, or 10 years from now. The first will be the physical science building, which will house the math and science areas in those of physics, chemistry, geology, and the like. And it will, I don't know exactly how to tell you if you don't know the campus, but if you go out of the drive, you come in the drive between the library and the science building, and you go out over between the arts building and the three, I don't want to call them temporaries because they've been there too long, but they're supposed to have been called temporaries. Well, right east of those temporaries and across what is now the drive and closing the drive and working over toward the arts building, this is where the new first unit of the science building will be located. The second unit of the science building, which will be for the life sciences, the biology and so forth, will be between Christie Woods and the building that we're building when the three temporaries get out of there. This is the way this is set up. Now, we'll have around $3 million to start this building with, so that we are now completing the plans. The architect is getting the last things ready. We hope in the July or August meeting of the board, perhaps not July, August or September, to have something that we can present so that we can then perhaps get the release of the dollars to get the building started. Then, of course, we're doing the library. The old assembly hall becomes the heart of the library. We had a building, we built an addition on the side, and the old assembly hall will become the stack area and the office area. We'll tear the whole inside out, put stacks and offices and rooms in that. That, by the way, will accommodate up to something like 750,000 volumes when we get it appropriately remodeled. Then we go to a classroom building on the corner where we did tear down a temporary, the corner of McKinley and Riverside, and there we plan to start the next classroom building. The education department, for instance, has classes and offices in 5 different buildings now, or 6 maybe, probably 7 when we start this fall. Offices and rooms in that. That, by the way, will accommodate up to something like 750,000 volumes when we get it appropriately remodeled. Then we go to a classroom building on the corner where we did tear down a temporary, the corner of McKinley and Riverside, and there we plan to start the next classroom building. The education department, for instance, has classes and offices in 5 different buildings now, or 6 maybe, probably 7 when we start this fall. But this classroom building would take this pressure off and also help with the social science and some of the business administration courses and business ed courses. This building is the part of the statement that we said we needed and we wanted and we'd like to have it, if you want to use those 3 terminologies as the paper did this morning. And then we could go on with the next set of requests that we shall have to get ready. Now, our requests that went into the paper, about which I've been making some remarks, and I hope they're understood, are a part of the building program that Indiana, Purdue, Ball State, and Indiana State have presented to the director of the budget as our part of our plan to present to the legislature. And this is only for capital outlay. And our part of the program calls for $8,758,000 for building structures for classrooms, not for the supplementary units, but for classrooms. When I say supplementary, I mean residence halls, such buildings as we have here. Now, I've said perhaps enough about things, although I should go on and mention the closed circuit television and the data processing center and a series of things like this, but I won't. I'll talk about programs. New programs in 64, 63, 64, and 65, because we're so close to 65, the nursing education program. As you know, we are reinstating the 4-year nursing program. The hospital is phasing out its 3-year program. We will both have freshman classes this fall. They will take no new freshman classes. So next year we'll both have sophomores. The next year they will graduate a class. It will be their last class. The next year we will graduate our first class on the 4-year program. There are already 75 students who have been accepted in the program at the college, and interesting enough, there are 58 that have been accepted in the 3-year program at the hospital. So this is a very good part of the program. We're starting a 2-year program in printing technology. This will give us another one of the terminal programs that people say we need so much. Then we've added 1 additional cooperative doctorate with Purdue during the year. And if I should go on and try to tell you all the co-curricular or extracurricular or supplementary curricular programs that we've had on the college campus as they've expanded this year, in terms of people who have won prizes in Washington for being the best marching mademoiselles in the United States and people who have gone to play their musical instruments in Carnegie Hall in New York City, or a series of things like this, and the things that our debate teams have been able to do, and our oratorical people, and I could go on across. And then let's not forget, we again won the All Sports Trophy in the conference again this year. But I won't try to do all of those. Just the next item that comes up in programs is the university status, and I perhaps already said great plenty about that. But these will be the kinds of things that go to the next legislature. Now, so far as we can tell, the student body, the faculty senate, the alumni action, the 4 state institutions of higher education, the presidents have agreed to the change of name, and the Indiana State Teachers College Board has agreed to the change of name, and it's been presented to the Indiana Conference on Higher Education, which includes the 30 private church-related independent colleges, as well as the 4 state institutions of higher education. Now, it may be that when the legislature is in session, we shall need some help, or maybe before, and I think you know upon whom we shall be calling. Functionally, then, we've been working on the organization. I told you just a little about the fact that we talked about 4 colleges and a realignment of departments. We've had a comparatively simple structure as we have grown. We started out with the 4 major areas of administration, instructional affairs, finance and business affairs, student affairs, and public affairs. All the public relations, the Alumni Association fits into this last one. Now, most of our reorganization has actually come in the instruction area. There were 13 departments with a vice president and a series of directors of different areas, such as director of extended services. We are organized into 3 divisions. Now we've said 4. We name them colleges. Within the colleges, then we'll have a breakup. We'll have a division into some divisions, and then those into some departments. Some don't care to have the divisional. They just wish to have departments, and we're leaving as much autonomy as we can within each one of the 4 colleges. This will be presented to the board, and we could give you. We have the charts all worked out. They were started. We finished up on the agreements at 1:35 yesterday. We already have the charts. They're almost ready to present to the board. But I'm sure you don't want me to try to tell you about what the charts look like. They aren't very complicated. In fact, it's still a simple structure. As a matter of fact, it's quite possible that we could move into the structure before the name was changed, because it's a simple transition, if you want to say it that way. Well, now we, as you probably would guess, are already and have been, this is no different from what we've been doing, we've been exploring additional possible programs for the doctorate. Our social science teacher education and our elementary teacher education programs, which were accredited before they were started, accredited by the North Central Association Accrediting Agency for the doctorate program. By the way, I ought to stop long enough to say our nursing education program has already been accredited by the state accrediting agency before we start the program, so that anyone who enrolls in it or who will graduate from it will have initial accreditation. The same thing is true of our doctorates. If you stay tomorrow, you'll see some people, a larger number of people, getting their doctoral hoods. Such areas as science teacher education, art teacher education, and the like are the areas in which we will be exploring. Now, I said something about grants before. Actually, we have now had come to this college in the last 3.5 years over $2 million in grants, with which we are doing additional research and study, carrying on institutes, attempting to improve programs not only at the college level, but in the public school programs. This is a major part of the program that we worked on. I won't tell you all of them, but let me mention a very few. A grant to prepare teachers of the mentally handicapped. Dr. Elizabeth Spencer in the Education Department. This is a grant for the first year of $35,400. A grant to prepare teachers of the deaf, and this is one of Dr. Huckleberry's areas, $47,000. This is the 3rd year for this grant. $70,000 for grants for biology institutes, with Dr. Nesbitt carrying them. Grant from the National Science Foundation for physiology laboratory equipment. This is a small one, but $5,400 worth of equipment in this area is very helpful. We had to set up a matching program, so it's a $10,800 set of equipment. This fits into this new things we've had on campus. A grant for research in the area of new ways to teach music theory and work with children in the area of music, $72,000. This was to Dr. Sherman. A grant of $124,000 from the U.S. for a 3-year study in research in improving English composition for the oral method, O-R-A-L-A-U-R-A-L. We found out some very interesting things. I don't know whether you realize it or not, but we teach some very interesting courses on how to teach reading and how to work with reading but almost no one has done anything in this country about how to teach people to listen. And yet, if you will think of the changes from what was going on when you and I were at the age of first graders, in terms of how much more listening we do, because of the new media that have come to which we just are almost impelled to listen. And yet very little research has been done in this area. But you might be interested also if I told you that the only test that we've had of freshmen incoming to Ball State, out of the, now we've tested about 16,000, 18,000 in the last few years, the only test that tells anything about men more than at a 500 correlation is a test for listening. So there needs to be some research done in this field. And this $124,000 grant we hope will lead to something. Well, I've got 3 or 4 pages. I'm skipping around. A $49,000 grant for a workshop on captioned films for the deaf. A $30,000 grant for the Knapp School Libraries Project. And this, by the way, is in connection with the Warren Township Schools. And Everett Light, of course, is there. Washington Township Metropolitan Schools in Marion County. It's a $30,000 grant. The second National Institute of Health grant for research in science. This was to Dr. Reynolds, $14,000. This Iota Xi grant of $2,000 for the summer speech and hearing clinic. And then we have 2 or 3 others that are pending, and we hope we hear from favorably in the next few days. But over $2 million into this area to help us get some of the things done that we feel are important to do on campus and for teachers who are out in the field. I mentioned the Berkeley Crosby. Well, there's some other interesting things that come along. Max Patag, the Dean of the French Horn in America, probably the most highly respected, most nationally and internationally recognized teacher in this field. One of his students is one of our faculty members. And he says it's the best student he ever had, and so he's given his personal library, including the French horn methods books he's written, the compositions for the French horn, collection of rare and old mouthpieces and mutes for the French horn, which date back 150 years. And they all come to the Ball State Library in the music department. Well, these are the kinds of things that are beginning. I don't want to use the word beginning because beneficence was what started. But this was the thing that impressed, for instance, Dr. Wisely from the group that came here to study about the things that we could list. Well, let me just risk apart. This is a shorthand, of course it's typed out now, I'm not reading a shorthand, but this is a report of the meeting we had. Said someone talked about the cultural opportunities, I guess it was Dean Bell, centered primarily around the campus. There's the theater group in Muncie. There are other theater groups on campus. Muncie has an arts association organized since 1907, and it's worked on the campus a great deal. Art Students League since 94. Then the auditorium. We are told that we are in a very strategic position as these road shows move across the country. We have an outstanding art gallery. Everybody knows where that came from, with a number of permanent collections, including ancient artifacts. Then we have the Ball Mansions on Minotristas, an art center. Adult classes, children's classes, discussion groups meet there. We recently discovered it's almost acoustically perfect. We have a most outstanding symphony orchestra. We have a ballet corps. 2 of the outstanding people who are in ballet in the whole United States are on our faculty. Come down from Chicago for 1 or 2 days a week and help with our program. There's the Arts Festival each summer and the annual Chamber Music Festival. All are available to students, to graduates, and to townspeople. In music, there's the Woodwind Quintet that performed in Carnegie Hall. There's the Ars Musica String Quartet, the Ball State Harp Ensemble, the college band, and I could go on. Then somebody else spoke up and said, well, this is, in fact, Dr. Wilsey spoke, said this is useful and helpful information. It's been our finding that we need to know more about these things in the community because doctors who want to locate in a hospital and work in a hospital want to go to communities where they and their children can find these things. Well, somebody then mentioned the Kitzelman Conference Center, and someone else mentioned the Burris School, and someone else mentioned the airport. It really got to the place where it was almost funny, and Dr. Moore said, we not only have all these things, the best skiing area in this part of the country is within 2 hours of drive from Muncie, over at in just across the line in Ohio. Well, we did pile up an impressive list of items, which I thought were, part of it was fun. Well, I haven't said anything about the last item, services. I talked about people and things and programs, now a little about services. Library, I said enough about it so you know how I feel about the library. The community and the college cultural series, the public school councils, the school business officials council, It's school business officials in all the state of Indiana. Their executive committee was visited by, they visited each one of the 4 institutions, decided to bring their council and ask us for staff. They're coming to Ball State for their program. This alumni questionnaire, I'd forgotten what I said about being brave about it. It does take some brave people to ask questions about the, you know, a lot of people ask questions, but sometimes they don't really want to know what you'd like to tell them about themselves. I think we have some very real helpful. Of course, the one major item that we need in this area of services is something more that we can help, some more dollars with which we can help students. We've used up all of our United Student Aid funds. This is around $660,000. We have borrowed our students have borrowed all the money that's available through the National Defense Loan, and this is $1.5 million. Our students now have borrowed over $2 million so that they can get their college education. These are to be paid back after they graduate, except those that teach school get a half of their grants, from the United States Defense Loan Act. They get those half of their loans forgiven. Well, I could go on. This is from another series of statements that I could read you that says that few colleges in the United States have such a wide representation of art as may be found in the art galleries at Ball State. In addition to its permanent collection, it has 15 to 20 shows a season. And our annual drawing and small sculpture show is getting attention all over the nation. Almost any time I drop into a college where they have a good, strong art department, or even in an airplane ride one day, one of the men sat next to me said, "You're from Ball State. I see you reading some of these materials." He said, "You have one of the most remarkable small sculpture shows of any place in the whole United States." He says, "I visited about 20 of them last year, and yours is it." Well, I won't go on with it. I have this questionnaire, Bob, and I think we had a lot of things come out of it. I want to end with one statement. Ball State is one of the most exciting colleges in the country. Now, this is a statement of Price, who was here, Vincent Price. And some of you know who Vincent Price is, and some of you don't. But he is the television actor and the art connoisseur who has picked out all of the art programs and the things that you would see in penny stores. This is a part of his work. He came here. He saw Sears. I'm sorry. What did I say, pennies? Well, it doesn't say here anything about either pennies or Sears, so I was trying to remember. This is what he says. Ball State has become a part of my lectures as an example of what can be done for the arts in any community. I've become your public relations man par excellence. This is what he wrote to Dr. Nichols. This is the way he ended it, and this is the way I'm ending what I have to say to you tonight. It's one of the most exciting colleges in the country. Like all educational institutions, it's growing, growing, growing. Violent, tremendous, exciting. Art galleries, theaters, art department, growing, growing, growing all over the place. Thanks for listening to me.